Everybody, I'm here with my good friend Dan Arroyo, aka Dub Souljah. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dan. We just want to, spend some time. We've had the fortunate opportunity to play some music together over the last few years, and I just love everything that you're bringing to the community, your passion, your style, obviously your skills, and you. There's only one you, man. You're very unique, and but you bring a lot of love and passion to everything you do, and we're all grateful to have you kind of leading this movement and this local community. So, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit more about your background, kind of where you're from, and how you got started.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Thank you for having me. I go by Dub Souljah professionally or on stage as a musician. And yeah, man, I've been doing music for a real long time, since a kid, of course. When I was little, I wasn't good at sports or anything, or I wasn't really academic or nothing. So mom just put me in piano by happen chance, just because, hey, what else can my kid do? What can keep him occupied? And I took lessons for a couple of years. I got a few little awards from recitals and stuff. And that happened. And I remember just feeling like I like this is cool, but like piano was boring. At the time, I was into Blink 182 and Linkin Park and Sum 41, and I
Yeah.
couldn't play that on the piano. So
Right.
years later, I finally picked up the guitar, and I just really took to it. And once I found out what a power chord was, forget about it, dude. I
Game
could play
over.
all of my favorite songs all
Yep.
up and down the neck. And I just started writing songs, and without even knowing anything but my two fingers on a power chord, and that's it. Not even the fifth, just
Right.
that's it.
So
So
for the non musicians out there, can you explain what that means?
so a power chord is like, well, I mean, a chord, you two
Yeah.
or three notes together, which form, sonically something that sounds, harmonically, minor or major or whatever.
Right.
And I don't claim to be like some super aficionado in these terms or anything. So
No, you're
correct me
pretty good, bro. You're
if
pretty
I
good. Give
say
yourself
something.
credit. Give yourself credit.
But yeah, so you take the root note, and then you take, the third note, and then the fifth note,
Right.
or however that goes, right? And so those together would create the chord, and I just took the first two and didn't go, the first and the third, and didn't go to the fifth. But eventually I learned that the fifth does sound so much better, and it makes the chord more full when you play it that way. But writing songs, when I was primitively learning, reading my first book and trying to figure out what a note was, like guitar wise, because I could play notes on a staff on piano, but guitar was, it was
Right.
similar, but it was easy to learn guitar because I had already played piano.
Well, I totally agree. So I kind of did it backwards.
Mhm.
And I highly recommend, even if your kids don't like it and they're bored, I don't really advocate forcing kids to do things they don't want to
Yes.
do as far as sports or music, except for I don't care if you want to or not, you're going to learn piano. And the reason why is because piano is really the language of the world. It's the foundation for
Yes.
all of music and math.
Yes.
And so if you can play the piano, um, you're a unique person in the world. It's kind of like if you can drive a stick
Oh,
shift, right? There's a whole
yeah.
generation of people that can't even drive. If we had a zombie apocalypse, I would outlast all of Gen Z because they couldn't even drive a stick shift. I
You
just get
would
in a Jeep
outrun
and
me, yo.
boom.
You would outrun me, yo.
So no, I'm just kidding. But the point is, like,
Yeah.
I started kind of in reverse. I started on the drums, which I think is a
Oh,
natural um, progression for a lot of people. Percussion, drums, because you're not really like chords and notes. That can be
yes.
so overwhelming, right? But if you can start at a young age, and I wish I would have learning notation, because to this day, my brother and I have never had a lesson. Don't know how to read music. I've after playing for 20 something years, I've kind of picked it up,
Yeah, you know what it is.
and
Yeah.
I can understand it like conceptually, but we're really by ear kind of guys. But basically, the power chords, like you were saying, is you can play certain styles a lot more. The difficulty level of like heavy metal or
Mm.
hard rock like Led Zeppelin, or even pop songs like the Beatles, are more intricate, even blues like BB King or whoever. But then there was this kind of genre that was distorted, and whether it was kind of like Metallica or whatever, not that that doesn't have some great guitar, but like the lead guitar, not the lead guitar, but the rhythm guitar on that was that simple driving kind of power chord.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
punk rock started using it. And to be honest, a lot of the great punk bands of the 70s and the 80s, a lot of them were shitty musicians. They're not, because it wasn't even about being good musicians. It was about the message, and it was about, you know.
There's a whole genre. We just name it Ramones core, you know,
Yeah,
because it's just
exactly.
the 3 chord,
Exactly.
4 chord, and
Yep.
it's just the, you know, not even the fifth, and they're just going for it, man.
And
That
the
yeah,
drums too. Drums super
and the
straightforward,
drums too,
simple. Yeah,
easy,
yeah,
same, simple. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But you know, it's funny because there's still some awesome bands and musicians that have come out of that genre. But in general, you're right, especially for like a kind of that teenage angst. It's like the best way to express it because you
Yeah.
know, you don't necessarily have to have the best instruments or the most skills. You can still rock out if all you know is one or two chords.
Yes.
So that's a really cool start because that's kind of I same thing too. I started on the drums in church and then got a guitar and was like learning like the open chords, right?
There you go.
and
Yep.
and then once I got an electric guitar and I figured out like detuning and the distortion and like power chords, it was like you said, getting to play along with the radio and the songs that you liked. It was like it's unlocks another level for a musician.
Yeah, I remember the first book that I got was it just came with the first Fender acoustic that I got. Well, it was a Squire
Yeah,
by Fender, so
yeah,
still
yeah.
you know,
Entry
can't
level.
fault
Yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah. Hey,
you know,
it's a
but
start.
it came with a book, and I remember the first lick that was in the book was like the Spanish theme.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was easy. It was just like 3 notes, but like that was my first ever like real thing I played. And I just remember going like, whoa, I played something. I played something. Oh my God.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. But the first ever real riff I learned was Damn It from Blink 182, of course.
That's a
So
good one. Yep, yep, yep.
yeah, my teacher used to give me like, you know, 20 minutes of lesson. And then the last 10 minutes was like, bring a CD in and I'll tab it out for you. And
That's
then you
awesome.
go home and learn the song. So I did that. And that's how I really first started learning. But then when tabs came around, I just totally threw out reading notes on the staff and I just learned
Yeah.
everything tablature. And since then, like I can probably go back to notes on the staff if I took a little while to recharge my brain. But yeah, I'm kind of like
So
you.
for non-musicians, kind of explain what that is.
Okay.
Tablature or versus tabs or notes and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So what you see, what we say notes on the staff or sheet music is those 5, 6 lines, and they got those notes, the dots with the lines and the little feather or whatever on them, and they all represent a different note on the scale. And then tabs for a guitar player, like they didn't have anything that showed you notes. It showed you the number of where, like the number where to put your what fret to put your
Yeah,
finger
it's
at and
kind of
what
like a cheat
string.
code.
A
Yeah, yeah.
cheat code, yeah,
Yeah.
cheat. So, but that really helped me learn to play the songs because like I already understood how to emulate their movements, their finger movements, a gallop on a guitar, like in
Yeah.
metal songs, you
Yeah.
know. I already figured out how to do those movements with my right
Yeah.
hand. So my left hand just needed to know where all that went and just play the riff slow a
Yeah.
bunch of times, and then
Yeah.
eventually you get faster and faster, and then you can riff, and it's good.
Well, it's funny. Every musician, you know, that you ever jam with comes with a different level of skill or
Yeah.
experience or even language, right? So like that's one cool thing about music. No matter how old you are, no matter what language you speak, like music is a universal language, right? And then but there's
Yeah.
levels to it, right? Some people are very advanced, some people are very primitive. Um, but for me, when I'm playing, I prefer to hear the the notes or the chords, right? So it's like, oh, it's AGD instead of like 2 3 6. Like in
Oh
my
God.
brain, tabs never really, because I was more of a rhythm guitar player. So when electric guitar
Yes.
players love tabs, they'll call it out the numbers, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I know. Let me watch your fingers and let me hear it, and then I'll get it. I just need to hear it once.
Yeah, so to this day, like when I fill in for somebody and they give me their set list and it's got
Right?
just the root chord and nothing
Yeah.
else, and they expect me to know what the whole progression is, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know this is roots and I know it's kind of the reggae standards, but like
Yeah.
what's the next chord after that? Because that'll
Right.
help me go to the next one. But they're
Right.
like, nah, you just go to the third and then you go to the whatever, and I'm like, what chord is it, man? Just tell me ABC. I
Right.
got it. I know where to play that on the
Well,
neck.
and yeah, so I like rhythm guitar.
Yeah.
I never really got into lead because it's just like a different. it's a different level, it's a different gear. So I feel like you can learn it, but it's kind of like you got it or
Yeah.
you don't, you know. And there's people that shred on the guitar. You shred on the guitar. I can hold it down, but more of a rhythm guitar player. And then I realize I'm more like comfortable bass because I just like pocket. But even as a bass player, you can
Oh,
get crazy with
yeah.
it. I just like to kind of hold it down pocket. That's just my personal preference, but I can hold the pocket down well. And then I like the guitar players to do the fancy shit.
Yeah. So like the licks that are on my record, like I'm not an improviser, so I like wrote those out and probably did 100 takes until it was the right one for
uh,
the song, and then just memorized it for the live. I remember actually the very first time that I really like, actually not the first time I played live, but the first time that I filled in or improvised with anybody. Animo Cruz was doing something years ago upstairs at the
oh,
Catalyst, and it
yep,
was like a Tuesday or a Thursday night thing, Reggae All
yep,
Stars.
yep.
And I remember it's like, hey man, can I bring my guitar and jam with you guys? Oh, come on by, man. And then he was messaged me the morning of going, hey, our guy is gone for the day, can't make it. You mind filling in all night on guitar, like the whole night for the backing band? And I thought, ooh, sure, but I was so like unprepared
You
because
got thrown to the
yeah,
fire.
right away. So I'm on stage and they're playing. I remember them playing Night Nurse, and I didn't know it was, A minor G. And I'm like not knowing what they're doing, trying to see his hands, look at his fingers, and I can't see. So I just muted the neck and did a chuck with nothing because there was a keyboard player holding down the skank the whole time. And
Yeah,
all
yeah.
night I played no chords. I just basically like muted chuck the whole night, and it sounded like I was playing all the chords if I just moved my hand up and down and make it look cool. That
There's a lot of little things that musicians do. And it depends, right? So there's times where sometimes you're just being lazy, right? Other
yeah,
times it's just because you're not confident and you don't know the
100%.
part. And then because yeah, there's some people that are just they have to play it exactly right, exactly how it's written. And then there's others that kind of improv. I'm more of like the improv, vibe it out, jam
Yeah,
it out kind of guy.
totally.
But there's other people that are like even my wife and I, we're working on some music stuff together, and she's more classically trained, mariachi and choir.
Oh,
And
that's
so
great.
she wants to sing each and every single note on the scale. And I can play the piano, but I'm just playing like chords. I'm playing like triads, on the piano. And I can kind of improvise a little bit, but I'm not playing each individual note on a church song. And so we've had to work through that on how to like play together. But it is funny, like non-musicians are like, what are you talking about? But there really just is that like there's different types of musicians, and they
Yeah.
usually tend to gravitate towards each other, right? If you really love structure, you might be in a symphonic band and you need a conductor and you need the tab, the pages of music in front of you. But if you're in a local reggae band, you're probably just like in it for fun, and you want to be good, but you're not like as worried about all that other stuff.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're not. No.
So you grew up playing, you got some skills, you had that
Oh,
piano
yeah.
foundation, and then you started doing some open mics and some jams here and there. What how
Yeah.
was Dub Soldier birth?
Okay, so this so a little backstory to all of that. So I actually grew up in LA, Southern California, or North Orange County, like the border of LA and Orange County, north.
What town? What town?
La Habra,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
California.
yeah,
Right,
yeah. I used
right
to
near,
live in Buena
right
Park.
near.
I used to live
Oh,
in
there
Buena
you go,
Park. Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
Hell yeah,
yeah.
bro. That's what's up.
Right by Knott's Berry
So,
Farm.
that's the place. That's the place to
Yep,
go.
yep.
Yo, y'all are missing out, man. But so yeah, I grew up in La Habra, and I remember like liking music then and like playing guitar, like pretending to play guitar, like fake guitars and making stuff out of cardboard and whatnot. But anyway, I eventually took to recording around my senior year in high school, and my mom got me this little 16 track recorder from Roland Boss, and
That's awesome.
it had a CD burner in it already. It had programmed drums, and it was a little 12 track mixer. It was sick. And so I
Shout
started.
out to parents, man, for the guiding
I,
us along,
I remember her
intentionally and unintentionally.
at some point she was just like, he's not gonna stop. You know what? I'm just gonna give in, and if he likes it, he likes it. You know what? I don't, whatever, dude. Figure it out. If a couple, So I finally learned how to do that. But at that time I was big into punk rock. So I was listening to a lot of heavier bands, punk rock and hardcore, a lot of street punk like the Casualties and the Unseen and the Exploited, and
And so
then
when was this? What
heavier
around
stuff
what years was
like
this?
Hate Breed. 2008,
Okay, okay,
2009,
okay. There
when
was
I
some shit going
graduated
down in
school,
those days.
2008. Oh yeah. So it
Yeah.
was heavy, and then but when I moved out again from mom's house, I moved out because we had moved there to up here up north where her family is, because my mom was born and raised here at Hollister.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, and but I said I want to go to music school. I want to learn music finally. I want to do this. Like I think this is like this feels really good. And at that time, years of guitar playing and writing a bunch of songs in notebooks and having notebooks upon notebooks of lyrics that just never been recorded, and just kind of my thoughts and feelings of all of the struggles and trials and tribulations of life at the time, you know. And
Yeah,
so I finally decided to just pack my bags and go, and I
that's
did it.
awesome.
And so I left town and decided to start recording music down south. And I went to the Musician Institute. Um,
Oh, nice.
but at
Am
that
I?
time, yeah, so at that time I had actually gotten into rap, and I was a rapper. I went under the name Symphony Underground,
Okay.
and I was making like hardcore, like East Coast beats with big orchestra sounds and stuff like that. And then my main influences was like Immortal Technique, Jedi
Yep.
Mind Tricks, Army of the Pharaohs, stuff like that. That was my vibes. And so I
It
went to
makes
school
sense
and
now
did
in
that.
your current how you
Oh,
are now. It makes sense. All
mhm.
this. Yeah,
I
yeah.
hear it, 100%. So the school was sick because it was a 6-month program called Independent Artist, and I got to learn how to use Logic Pro. I learned how to like do like a website and marketing and business. So the songwriting teacher was this guy named Michael Anderson, who like wrote a hit song in the 80s that then went on to get bigger after someone else took it and made it big. It was a song called Maybe It Was Memphis. It's like a country song.
Okay.
But he was showing a song structure, and that helped me in the long run, actually, at the end of the day. Because when you write rap, I was just thinking like, okay, verse, chorus, outro, pretty much that's it. And you just loop the beat, change a little bit, and that's hip hop. But this guy was like, no, where's the bridge? Where's the this? Where's the part where you take the listener on a ride, on a journey? And it was
Mm.
more about the vibes, not the lyrics, but the vibes of the song. So you just have to perform the song in front of the class, and the class would critique you in real time, and
Oh,
like write a
oh,
song through the week and then perform it to the class. So when I got a positive response from the classmates, it just changed my life completely. I thought, okay,
wow.
this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to do this.
So you
So
know
for
you're
a
meant
long
to do it
time,
because what you just described is
yeah,
most people's biggest fear: performing their art in front of a class of people that get to critique
my
them in
heart
real
was
time.
pounding.
Oh,
And if you know, the type of music I write isn't for everybody. All my songs are Stick It to the Man, Down with Babylon System, and all of this. So
yeah.
I'm singing this song to the class, and after everybody's eyes were wide open, like that came out of this little guy. Because I've always been a kind of short in stature, brown kid, and they were just like that came out of you. Holy crap.
Big
And
in
the
spirit.
positive, yeah, positive responses. But sitting in the studios working with crazy musicians who were on albums, who've been on tour with this and that, who've worked in major labels and this and this, it was amazing time. But I got introduced to reggae there because a good friend of mine, if you don't know, Jason J, who played with Hyrie and who's done a lot of tours with other bands and
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
was in the same cycle of me of classes.
That's
And
awesome.
he was doing reggae at that time. And I remember seeing his band and going, oh, this is a good vibe. I didn't really vibe with reggae at the time, but after a bunch of studios, selling beats, almost joining a rap group and rapping hardcore and getting exposed to kind of the uglier side of hip hop's like there might have been some weapons at the studio sometimes and things, and kind of those kind of vibes
Yep,
happen.
yep, yep.
I knew I needed to do something different. My lyrics were all positive, and I was kind of putting a front to seem hardcore on my tracks.
Mm,
But I went to Cali Roots in 2014, and that was my first real exposure to reggae. I was
mm.
supposed to go to another show prior to, but I flaked out on that. So my cousin was like, "Hey, I'm going to this, and you missed out on the other show, so you have to come to this. Like, I really want you to experience this. I think you're
Wow.
going to really like it."
Shout out to your cousin. You know, it's
Yeah.
funny. You and I, we only got connected a few years back, but I have a feeling we were at the same place at the same time a lot and didn't realize it. But I'm glad we connected now. But
Yeah.
so shout out to your cousin. So you get there, you get to Cali Roots after coming out of the hardcore punk and hip
Yes.
hop scene, and then what?
Amazing. So I remember the where it clicked was we were at the bowl stage at the time, and Josh Heinrich was opening the day solo, and he had someone on a djembe behind him, and that was it. But I remember
Love
like
Josh Heinrich.
the whole crowd was vibing to it, standing up and dancing, and I thought, this is it. This is exactly where I need to be right now. All the people were nice and friendly, and of course everybody was smoking bud everywhere, so it
Yeah,
was just the
that
vibe and
helps.
the
Yeah,
music, the lyrics that he was singing and some of the songs, and I just thought, this is protest music, just like what I'm writing, but like it's soft
yeah.
and it's palatable. The kids are listening to it, and he's saying exactly what I want to say, but like, but everybody can hear that, and I like it. So
Well, the
immediately
message kind of sneaks up on you.
it does.
The music is disarming, and then the message kind of
Yeah.
gets there, as opposed to with punk and hip hop. Sometimes you're trying to hit him in the face with
Oh,
it.
100%. And so I remember like, okay, I like this. And so I bought a couple of albums, bought a couple compilations, and just started getting into bands, whatever I could find. Some of the early bands I started getting into for reggae, like I remember getting a CD called Monterey or Bust.
Oh
It was
yeah, I remember. Yes,
the first song on
yes.
there was Stick Figure, Vibes Alive. And I
That
remember the intro riff, and I was like, okay, I like this a lot.
so
Yeah.
they did an album the following year for like a
Mhm.
fundraiser for a nonprofit, and it was like Reggae United or Reggae Unites or something
Uh-huh.
like that.
Yeah.
And that's how I found Stick Figure, was the
Oh,
song the
hell
song
yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah, there you
And I
go.
remember because I was working, so I have a whole other story, but I was working for years in the industry. I started as a musician and then kind of wound up like management and production and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I was working with my good friend Thomas and Igor, who started Ineffable Music, and they used to book all the shows at Catalyst back in the day. Well, and they were also started managing Collie Buds back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember Thomas told me, he goes, "Hey, check this album out." I'll go, "Oh, you know what? I like this guy's song. I heard him." He goes, "Yeah, he's gonna be bigger than Collie Buds." I go, "Come on, dude. Yeah, right." Like this random dude from Boston. And then I remember they opened up Cali Roots. And in the bowl stage, not a lot of people were there. It was like Friday afternoon at like 2 in the afternoon or whatever. The first time they had a Friday for the festival,
Yeah.
because it used to just be 2 days. And he goes, "You know what, dude? They're about to go on tour, and we need a bus driver. Can you do it?" So I stepped up and I like did half of the tour.
There you
And
go.
I was like, but through that, I learned a lot, and I super respect their hustle, because when we met up to go on tour, they had just come back from Reggae on the River. They went to Reggae on the River, not performing. They paid for a booth to sell merch. So they were selling stickers and frisbees and sunglasses and water. But as people were coming to buy their merch, they're just jamming right there in the booth and handing out CDs. And that was in 2014. In 2014, and from there, now you see where they're at. But it takes time. But shout out to the grind and the hustle, because you do
Yeah,
it for the love. But I see you
exactly.
on that same grind and hustle yourself.
So like right after, thank you, man. Uh, so right after that, I remember like still staying under the old name Symphony and trying to release music, and I released a record that I call Above the Roots. First like thing that I ever did that was reggae related.
Hmm.
And it still exists. If you go to my Bandcamp page, check out it's just dubsouljah.bandcamp.com, and there like I
That one
got a
time at
couple
band
of
camp.
old but that's when like I didn't know anything about releasing to a DSP or anything. I was just like, just put it somewhere online and I can do it for free here. I'm going to do it there.
Right.
And I didn't really promote it much, but that was my first endeavor into reggae, and it was all dancehall beats. So that
Uh,
those beats. And then but like me trying to do a reggae patois Jamaican voice to the best of my ability at the
right.
time. I've perfected it a little bit over the years, and sometimes when I do get like in the vibes on stage, my voice has a little bit of a ting sometimes to it. Of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
after 10 years in reggae music and growing my locks really long,
Yep.
sometimes
Yep. Yep.
this goes with the flow. But I remember that, and then at some point, just started saying Dub Souljah. I don't know how it came to be about. And I've actually tried to like go back through my Insta and see like the first time that I ever promoted anything with the words Dub Souljah in it, and it was like 2017.
Oh wow.
So after releasing that record, I did change my name. I put out a whole album, a whole 8-track EP of like beats that were reggae and hip hop and all of it, because I wanted to fuse everything I was doing. I remember the first time that when I was listening to Josh Heinrichs and getting into his music, I heard Skillenja, and that guy's like,
Yep.
it was just rap over a reggae beat. To me, I was like, he's rapping, no doubt.
Yep. And he's dope. What happened to that guy? He's dope.
He's still about doing his thing, man. He's got lots of songs out right now. He's doing like 5 albums a year or something, and they're like,
oh, dude, they had a dope duo that they had going for a long time.
They've been we're on a long run for a long time. But that influenced me. And then early on too, a guy from the UK called Charlie P. And like OBF Sound System, Mungo's Hi-Fi, those guys that do the sound systems and the steppers beats.
Yep.
This guy was rapping over it. He had this song called Dub Controller, and it was just this fast spitting. I go, that's rap. Okay, I can do this. Yeah. I'm gonna do this.
Reggae vibes with rap lyrics,
100%. But still saying it with that kind of patois ting to the voice and all that. And I was like, I want to do exactly that. So I did that, and right away, family and friends received it well. Some people were like, this is weird. This ain't you. Where's all this other stuff at? Like, and then my hair was growing a little long. Like, and people started seeing that, and we're just, it was all
an adjustment.
An adjustment. But the first thing that really caught people's attention was the song. It was a song called Medicinal. I put out an EP. It was 5 tracks, but I hired somebody to do a professional music video for it. And I got my friend to feature on the song, my friend The Fox. Shout out Abe if you're watching. But we went to San Jose and recorded a music video inside of Red Wall Studios. And it looked like a legit recording studio with a hanging mic from the ceiling. The lights were vibes. The guy did the thing with the soundboard where it makes all the lights turn on and all the faders move up and we just got all that on film. And right away, people were like, "Yo, that looks legit. Is that your studio, bro?" And a couple I was like, "Yeah, it's me, man. I own all that. It's all my stuff."
Make it so you make it.
People took us seriously after that, and everything after that just kind of, it was like, all right, okay. And then Dancehall Bump was the first thing that made me think I need to hire a band, because that was like a rock guitar with a live drum that I programmed. And then I hit up Craigslist like everybody else, and boom, started getting responses. And the first 2 people was the bassy and the drummy, who's still with us. And the bassy, he went off to do his own thing. He's got a project from Santa Cruz called Has Been, HAZBIN. Nice. And they do like kind of joke songs, but yeah, man,
that's cool.
That's kind of where the band started in 2019, where we first came together to like rehearse for the first time and feel it out. Our first ever legit gig was at the Blue Lagoon, opening for some band that came from Oregon, and it was
gotta love Blue Lagoon.
Yeah.
Anybody who is familiar with Santa Cruz, man, when you're leaving a show at the Catalyst and you get a slice of pizza, and then you're like, you know what? I'm not done partying yet. Let me go see what's over here. Let me get these $1 Paps beers. And then you're like, you go to the right and it's like bikers playing pool. And you go to the left and it's like Madonna music videos, disco night over here in this room. And then I one time saw like a banda, like a guy with a cello. Like I was like, what is the Blue Lagoon? It's so random, but I love it. I love it.
There, punk rock there, and so and it was.
There's no judgment there. You just walk in and it's weird, and everyone's welcome.
Like a reggae band opened for like a psychedelic rock band that sounded like it was on crack, and it was like, whatever, dude. They were just looking for anybody, and we just like, all right, fuck yeah, okay.
Do you guys got friends? Bring them in,
let's go. So
that's awesome.
Ever since then, it's kind of just been sort of up. Of course, like when we started to rock really heavy in 2020, first ever booking like real shows, playing at Sandbar and Zelda's and stuff like that. Like
Santa Barbara or Santa Cruz?
Santa Cruz, right?
Yeah. Capitola.
But that was right when pandemic hit.
Yes,
We had a few shows on the books, and I go, okay, this year we're actually really booking shows for real. Finally,
I know.
everything closed on us. So,
Well, I
but
think that's how we connected was through some of the shows that Silver was doing. I think that
exactly,
barn show
100%. Yes.
and maybe
Lake
some Costa
McAlpine
Sereno shows
probably.
and the McAlpine Lake one. Yeah. And yeah, because well, one I think what
Mhm.
really stood out is the the cover you do of Gangster's Paradise, or that
Yep.
really was like, oh, okay, shit, they kill that, and you could show off your reggae and your rap with the way that you guys do it, which was cool.
That's why I did it. I had been like thinking of ways to do versions of songs like that before. So even before the band, I had a like backing track version of that I would
Yeah,
rock.
yeah,
And then the band learned it. We recorded it after right after Coolio died. We hadn't really done anything with it before that. We were just playing it live and people liked it. But once he passed away, I was like, I better record this before anybody else does.
yep.
And I'm so grateful that they approved the license and they approved the version of the song because I had to
Oh
record
wow, you
it
took
first.
it that far.
I had to record it first, and then I had to apply for the license. That song had to go to the songwriters and the publishing owners. They had to approve it. And I could have paid to get the license through the company I did, and if they didn't approve it, I would have just been out of $300.
Yeah.
It's basically
Well,
300 for
he
the license.
he he he. It's a version of Stevie Wonder's song "Pastime Paradise," right?
100%.
But
So
then he
Stevie,
got all upset
yeah.
because Weird Al Yankovic made fun of his version and like didn't give him. So I
Yeah.
actually met Coolio randomly in Seattle, and he must have been right before he passed because he wasn't looking too good. And I just
Nice.
thought, man, like it was just someone who was so influential in our childhood in the '90s, and it just to see
Totally,
him like
totally.
older, is kind of weird, but like he definitely had a huge impact. And if you ever get a chance, check it out on YouTube. It's like the 1994 Grammys or some kind of awards where they have Pastime Paradise because it was Song of the Year, or A Gangster's Paradise. And then Stevie Wonder comes on at the end, and they kind of do it together, and they do a
Oh,
combo.
man.
If you get a chance, check it out on YouTube. And it was
Totally.
just epic, So you see the merger of the styles, but that's so cool to hear your story. And it's funny because previous generations, they didn't have the same opportunity that we have. So
Yeah.
back in the day, you used to get a band, maybe get signed, but there was gatekeepers at every level. You had to hire photographers, videographers,
Yeah.
graphic designers, engineers, producers, and there's still some of that. There's still a place for that traditional record industry. But what started to happen in the early 2000s with the internet and social media and smartphones, all of a sudden it really democratized music production and launching a career. And all of a sudden, live music became important, right? Because now we're
Yeah.
not selling
Yeah.
CDs anymore. We're not selling albums. We're streaming, or we're selling one song at a time. And the money in music drastically changed. And it became very important to be able to sell tickets and to be able to sell merch and
Yep.
to own your own music and to own your own
Yeah.
everything, intellectual
100%.
property. And so, better for worse, now artists can do their own thing, like Revolution and friends of ours. They have maintained independence this whole time, which is crazy. And
Totally.
it's the original four members. They split the expenses, and they cover. It's a big enterprise. It's a big business, but they at the end of the day, it's the four of them, and they've stayed independent, and they're one of the most successful independent bands in the whole game.
I hope to do something similar. I don't mind aligning with something major if it means help with distro and stuff like that,
Totally,
getting
totally.
getting more
A la
reach.
carte,
But
a la carte
yeah,
services instead
exactly.
of, or
100%.
hybrid services instead of
Yeah,
signing your whole life away for an
sure.
unfair deal. Now you can say, hey, we own everything, but we're going to hire you to help us with our touring or our booking
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I've been like, I think, I mean, maybe it might be a little detrimental, but so far, like I have recorded everything, performed everything, mixed and mastered everything, promoted everything, done everything, just so that I own everything. Ain't nobody gonna take none of nothing I own. And
Right.
I always think back to when Prince talks about, well, I recorded everything on my album. What's the label want money for? They didn't hire the session guy. I already paid him.
Right.
What do you want my money
Well,
for? So
Prince is a good example of a genius, and Michael Jackson,
yeah,
geniuses
totally.
who fought the man, so to speak, in the record industry.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to go deep down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, but they both died pretty young, and they both were pretty vocal against the major record labels and the deals that they were under.
Oh,
And we're talking about some of the most creative, talented people of all time. And imagine if they were in the era of social media and independent artistry, where it wasn't really possible before in the 60s or in the 70s. But now, I mean, you can, like you've done, you can build a brand and a sound from the ground up if you're willing to learn the skills.
yeah,
That's awesome. So now you're building this momentum.
sure.
You build the brand. You're collaborating. Sometimes you go solo. Sometimes you're a band. Now, as you're building the momentum, what's kind of next? I know you recently built a studio. Tell us about your studio.
Oh shoot, yeah, man. So I've always had some form of home studio, always had some form of way to record myself in my bedroom, in my living room, in the garage, in the shed out back, whatever I could find to get the noise away from mom so that she didn't, complain. But right now, we were very fortunate to score a house that I got to take over the whole garage. The whole garage is mine. So
Awesome.
before this, I was living in a what do you call it, like a studio apartment. And so I kind of modeled the garage basically after what that studio apartment looked like:
Mm,
a couch, a TV, coffee table, carpet, stuff like that. And then eventually I kind of modified it to now it's basically just a studio.
yeah.
So when I was living in that apartment, it was so hard to record there, of course, because there's so many
Yeah.
people and I was on the second floor and stuff. So me and the homies went to Home Depot and we bought a bunch of pieces of particle wood and just stuck them together and made with brackets and made a vocal booth out of particle wood. Went to home, we went
Where
to
there's a will, there's a way.
Yep, went to Walmart, bought a bunch of that foam that they just lay out like for a bed or whatever.
Yeah.
Bought that and a bunch of rolls of that and just stuck it up to the wall with spray foam and tacks or spray adhesive and tacks. And we went to town, man. And the whole first record that I wrote was like reggae was like recorded in there. First two was recorded in that.
That's epic.
Yeah, dude. So we did a
That's
lot
so
of
cool.
that. And then here, like we brought that over here, so that's here. But I've upgraded most of my stuff, like my DAW. So I'm using the newest version of Logic. I have a brand new Mac Studio. I just got a brand new MacBook Air to do mobile recordings.
Nice.
I'm gonna record at San Francisco State in May. I get a chance to go up there and actually record in their studios, recording like
Awesome.
free jazz. Basically,
Nice.
two mics in the room, but like a string quartet and like four horns and a drum and a bass and all of that, like just with two mics, and that's the recording.
Wow.
So
So I know you shared, we've been friends on social media now for the past
sure.
few years. I know you shared kind of your journey from, your 9 to 5 kind of in the corporate world.
Yeah,
And because a lot of musicians, it's always going to be part-time, or it's a labor of love, or it's a hobby,
yes,
right? Or, the favorite industry of most musicians is hospitality, right? Because of the flexibility. Like you can come in,
yeah.
be a bartender, wait tables, or whatever, work on the weekend. That way you can gig. But if you have like a 9 to 5 or corporate job, it's really hard, or you're in the banking or whatever. It's
It
it, you know.
it's
So
yeah.
talk about that transition where you kind of
Oh,
finally decided to go all in on music and your personal projects.
yeah. You mentioned banking. So like when I first got into reggae music and started like really trying to think about it heavy, I actually worked for Wells Fargo as a teller.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, wearing a suit and tie every day, going to work.
And
And
Tone does too. Tone's like
yeah, dude.
a manager
Dude,
from
that's
Rudians.
how I met him. So
That's awesome.
I had already
Shout out to
quit.
Tone.
I had already quit and I was on my way through going onto the bay and I stopped in Morgan Hill to the
Yep,
branch I worked at
exactly.
to go inside to say what's up and to get some cash out. And he was there and he was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And I didn't know who he was, but he was like, "I'm in a band. We're called Yerba Ruda." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I would love
Yeah.
to take you guys out." And we exchanged contact. That's the first
Yep.
time I met him. And
We used
years
to play.
later,
He and I played in Pacific Grown together years ago.
oh shit, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
years later, it's the Rudians, and then we
Yep.
connect, and I'm like, "Hey, remember you worked at the bank?" And you remember? He's like, oh, "I think I remember you." But anyway, so yeah, the bank, call centers, all kinds of places to work at. But my
Yep.
last job, I was there for 8 years. I worked my way up to becoming the environmental health and safety administrator.
Oh wow.
I was like getting DOT training and I took NFPA training. I was training people on forklift and I was riding forklifts and I was writing policies and procedures on safety and implementing, different I was training people every week, training new hires, and I would do site walks, audits, all kinds of that stuff. And the whole time I had dreadlocks. So like, it was so
That's
weird. It
awesome.
was corporate environment. It was very uptight, it was a biotech company. So it was
Yeah.
like pharmaceutical industry, and it was very up there in terms of like the requirements for emissions and greenhouse gases and wastewater and all this. Oh my God, it was so much. But at the end of the day, it got so stressful, man. I was like, at some point I started like to dread going into work because it got
Yeah.
so stressful. And I just remember thinking, all right, I gotta go. I'm sorry, I gotta get out of here. There's no way.
Yeah.
I didn't just dip either like that too. I said, look, I know I left my footprint on a lot of stuff here. So let me give you a
That's
2 week
cool of you.
notice. Let
Yeah,
me
that's
give you
cool
a
of you.
2 week. Let me get someone else up to speed. Let me give you a whole list of like 3 pages of every task I do, all my files, where everything's located, loaded everything up to the cloud and all that. And I did it all for them. I said, I want to leave you high and dry, but I gotta go. And I'm sorry.
Well,
They were
yeah,
that.
that's good of you. I mean, to do it with integrity, and people get um I mean, now it's not as big of a deal as it was before, but there's still some stigma with dreadlocks or tattoos or piercings,
Exactly.
which has no reflection on your performance,
No.
right? But it's just a social thing. And I understand it. Like, I'm in the business world and the government world. I see it. Like, I get it. I have tattoos on my arms, but I'm not like on my face or anything. But I mean, if you want to have them on your face, go for it, right? But
One thing my dad always told me was don't get a tattoo below your knee or below your elbow because they're gonna see it. And I'm like, all right.
I know I got mine on my forearms too.
Yeah,
I got mine on my
exactly.
forearms too. But well, so what I'll say with the project, and I respect how you handled that, because
Yeah.
there are some people that are full-time musicians that should probably go get a job and just keep it as a hobby. Let's be honest. And then there's others who just need that courage to go for it, right? Because for some
100%.
people, they'd be perfectly happy having a little setup in the garage, playing a couple gigs here and there, and they have their 9 to 5, they pay the bills, they have their family, and music is just a fun side project, right? Then the others, like yourself, who have this burning desire to get the message out, to go on tour, to build this brand, those types of folks should to do it and go for it, right? And you just have to be real with yourself. There's no one size fits all. Have that honest conversation with yourself and with your family. And for you, you realize I can't do this anymore. I need to go 110% with my music
Yeah.
and my passion.
I remember like thinking I could be so much further ahead if I just had my 8 hours a day back, man. I
Yeah.
could do so much more. And I always wanted to do like vlogging content,
Yeah.
more reels and stuff. Because let's face it, in this day and age, you
What you got
have
to do.
to be on the reels. You got to
Yeah.
be doing those 10-second clips, or else no one's gonna. How many followers you have on your Instagram? But did you listen to my song though?
Right.
Like, oh, okay, fine.
Well, like you said though, like instead of just wasting those 8 hours, replacing the job with working now the same 8 hours, but on
Yeah,
your project. And that's what a lot of people
exactly.
don't do. And that's why you've been successful, is because you not only did you replace those same hours, you were more passionate and working harder because you had
Yes,
the freedom.
yes. And I took the advantage too. I thought, you know what? If I'm just gonna do a year, let's
Yeah.
do a year. And if a year goes by and nothing's really popping the way that I imagined, or maybe I'm getting a steady income from all the different freelancing things, but maybe
Yeah.
I need to go back and get a 15-20 hour a week little part-timer somewhere just
Just for tax purposes.
just for tax purposes.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
let's face it, dude,
Yeah.
having to think about, oh man, I'm only getting paid
You
this
can
much.
live off your gigs and then have
How
your
much do I have
part-time
to
job pay
break
your
off for my
taxes. Yeah.
taxes? Oh my
Yeah.
God, no, man. So
I know.
yeah,
I
but
just met with that today. I know it's not fun. Yeah.
yeah, but I remember the first year filing taxes as Dub Souljah, like not as I was still working my job, but filing it and saying like, okay, yeah, all these big purchases for this year. I bought a sound system, buying the van, all those things, and then the return was like, well, here you go. What? Whoa, because I'm not making anything. Let's face it, as a starving musician band, like you don't really make a lot in the beginning, and it really takes a few years to things to really get popping and going if that's really where you're trying to go.
But you're able to invest in all your gear and your
Yeah,
lifestyle.
exactly.
Yeah,
So I
totally.
was really lucky to have a job that paid well at the time, and I was working my way up the ladder, and I kind of got to a stagnant plateau, but I was at a
And
point.
most people are happy right there and they'll just stay right there
I
until
was like,
retirement.
dude, I could continue working like this. The hours are perfect because I get off at 4:30 every day.
Yeah.
I'm not working Saturday, Sunday. I can
Right.
go out late on Sunday night, be at work at 8 on Monday, no problem.
Yeah.
Many late nights until 1 o'clock, and I'm loading out into the house, and then I go to bed and get
Yeah.
up. But I still had 5 hours of sleep.
Shout out to the musicians that are gigging and drinking on the weekends and still showing up to work on Monday.
Ooh,
I'm that
man.
guy now.
Uh,
For years I didn't have a job, but now I do, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
man, whew, it's a
But
different
I
kind of
do think
hustle.
though, yeah, if I have to go back, I will. I'm not going back to where I was working at before,
Sure.
but hey, get this too. Like I tried to apply for unemployment, but they were like, nah, you don't get unemployment. You quit. I said, yeah,
Right.
but it was due to stress. And they go,
Right.
I have a doctor's note. So I go, man. So I actually had to go
Yeah.
like phone court in front of a judge and like talk to the guy and tell him how I was feeling and like plead my case. And then I
Yeah.
won. So
Oh,
I was
good.
like, yeah, dude.
Good. Good. Well, and that's what's messed up is that you end up paying from the day you get your first job in high school, and then you pay. Like for me, I was paying into the system, and then the only time I ever used it was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I even felt guilty about that, but I'm like, no, I've been paying into this shit for 20 years. Like,
Let me get that.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And of course, you don't want to live on that forever, but it was needed at the time, and I took advantage of it at the time. But I have a passion to help creatives kind of understand some of those things, because there's a lot of creatives that end up getting taken advantage of. Either they end up not having the courage to pursue their dreams out of fear of what people think,
Uh,
or will they be able to pay the bills, or they get taken advantage of by sharks, or by, you might say agents of Babylon or whatever, that are
I've
in the
seen the
mix,
snakes in the grass, man.
that are snakes in the grass, that are there to confuse and take advantage of, whether it's with females, or whether it's with money, or whether it's with drugs, or whatever the case is. You got to really protect yourself. And so I've just always wanted to build that community and have these kind of conversations, so
Yeah.
that we can say, hey, get your shit together. Like, you're not going to be young and cool forever. So
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
have a retirement plan? Do you have an emergency savings? Do you have health insurance? Are you paying your taxes? And that sounds really boring and square and not rock and roll. But if you want to continue being a rock star, you have to have those things handled.
You do. You do. And that's some of the things that I learned when I was in school that I'm now like figuring out as being a freelancer and full time. But I remember going through the school and the music business books were telling you about so a little bit about finance. But if anybody's listening out there, if you're a musician, get a book on some kind of finance book. There's this particular book that I have. It's called Finance for Musicians, written by Bobby Borg.
Nice.
And it's a great book. It just tells you like, if you don't have a job that's putting money away for you, so you got to open up a IRA or a Roth or whatever and put your money
Yep.
to the side and save. How
Yep.
would make sure that you're budgeting yourself every month and how much, and at the end of the month, how many gigs did I have this month? How much money did I bring in and how much money did I lose?
Right.
And all of that. And I did that the other day for myself for the first time, and I realized like, yeah, I got to step up my game a little bit.
Well, so there's the financial side, which is super important, but then
Yeah.
also the physical side. And when I was on tour with Stick Figure, I got to give those guys credit, especially like Tommy and K-Bon, because those dudes, I mean, people think, oh, it's all just this fun party. It's a little bit of party and a lot of boring on the road, I-5, Walmart parking lots, a bunch of smelly dudes eating crap food out of gas stations. It's
Yeah.
not as glamorous as you think it is sometimes. But uh, I give credit to those guys and others that I've traveled with, that, because a rookie move is partying every night, not sleeping, not drinking water, eating like
Yeah.
shit. You will
Yeah.
burn out. But the guys that take care of their body, eat good, do freaking yoga, stretch, get enough sleep, I mean, you see it in their performance. And I remember talking to Jared from the Dirty Heads one time, and he was saying how they were in Brazil when they were first really making it big, and they had like 10 back-to-back, sold out nights in Brazil, like thousands of people. And he was just going hard like an idiot, just being a rock star. And to the point where he went so hard, he ruined his voice and had to cancel like the last 3 or 4 shows of the tour.
Yeah.
And basically he was like, you know what? like, who am I to these people spent their hard-earned money to come see me, and I was being an idiot, and they missed out on getting to see us because I couldn't handle and it changed his life, and then, you know, he quit partying, and now he's just like more locked in, because it really, people do, they, you know, they, on a smaller scale here at locally, you know, they're working all week, they're looking forward to going to 101 wine press, or they're looking forward to going
Yeah.
to downtown Salinas. And, you know, and nowadays things are freaking expensive. I mean, just stepping outside, you're spending $100. And,
Oh, no
and
doubt.
we're not even charging covers to get into these shows. That's just for beers and a pizza. And so for that 30-40 minutes that they're getting to hear you play, they get to like forget about their week, forget about their day, have a good time with their friends. And if you don't come and bring your best, you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah. It does feel like that. Yeah. If you're not, you know, if you're not pulling up, if you're not showing up, if you're not doing a good job, not good job might not be a right word, but like, if you're not, you know, if you're not giving a good show, a good performance, if you're standing on stage and you're not moving around and you're just kind of just acting boring, straight face, even if you're a member of the band, like such as yourself, who's not like up front and even have a microphone and singing most of the time, move around, do something,
Yeah,
act like
right.
you're interested in the show. Because if you look bored, the crowd will be bored. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, we've played some of those shows where the crowd looks super dead and you're just not feeling it.
yeah.
Maybe
It's an
it's not
energy
the,
exchange. It's an energy exchange. We all have
yeah,
a part to play in a concert,
that
you know.
usually happens at venues you play where like you probably, it's not the right fit, but they booked
Right,
you anyways, and
right.
everyone's like, who's this? What the heck?
We've all, yeah, we've all been in those
And
moments.
one
Yeah.
time, these people literally walked out of the show, complained to the venue, said, "Too much rock and roll." That's exactly what was said. I was like, "Oh,
Oh, that's cool.
interesting. All right, well,
Cool.
we're gonna go harder then, and we're gonna play
Yes,
more rock and
exactly.
roll."
That's funny because this is a bar. I thought, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
funny.
exactly. What the
Well,
heck?
what
So,
we could go on and on and on. I'm gonna let you go here in a minute,
sure.
but I just want to say a couple things. One, and you're a testament to this, and I guess I am too. I grew up playing sports. I love sports. To this day, I'm a fan. But let's be honest. I think a lot of people spend too much time, energy on sports, especially when it comes to their kids. And I wish that more. I think there's a time and a place for sports in kids' lives, right?
Sure.
Not every kid is cut out for sports. And I wish more, but that's like the default thing for parents to get their kids involved in sports. Thank God your mom helped find music. So did mine. And I was able to kind of do both. But I feel like music isn't as accessible for people, and that's something I want to do moving forward, is create environments and opportunities where kids can get exposed to music, because it's changed both of our lives. I mean, my if I didn't have music, if I didn't have sports, my life wouldn't be that much different. A lot of my buddies I have to this day are from sports. I enjoy watching it, but if sports disappeared tomorrow, it wouldn't be a drastic change in my life. But if music disappeared, it would be, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like so many people never got a chance to sing or to be in a choir or to be in a band because they just weren't exposed to it, or they didn't have the money, or they were afraid of being embarrassed, or they were afraid to admit that maybe they didn't like football, they would rather be in a band, or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. And so
Yeah.
how do you think we can kind of get that message out to parents and kids, like, give music a try, it might change your life?
I think, man, I think what we need to do is, I think it needs to be seen, it needs to be seen in kind of a two ways. I think one, it needs to be seen in a therapeutic light. We need to highlight more of the therapeutic aspects that music brings to people. I mean, they've done the studies to where music can literally heal people who are aching from their bones, and like people with real ailments have had reversals because of music.
Not just
Even
not just people, animals and plants too.
animals, cancer cells, they
Plants.
like the way that you can break a glass with a particular frequency. They say shoot that frequency into someone's body and destroy the cancer cells.
Yeah,
Like
forget
there is,
chemo, bring them some
right?
vibes.
But
Yep.
not for that, but like therapeutically, as far as like soothing
Yeah.
and positive aspects that music can bring to people.
Yeah.
Um, that, and then also for the parents out there who might be a little dismissive of their child who was like, I want to do this, I want to start a band, I want, like let them
Yeah.
do it and figure it out. I kind of had to tell my mom, like, just let me do this. If I fail,
Yeah.
let me fail. Let me figure it out. I need to do this. I want to do this. If you don't let me try it, I will die. I need to do this.
Yeah.
And you just got to trust me on this. So
Yeah.
the parents out there who are a little hesitant when their kid is joining bands or going to a lot of shows, joining their
Right.
local scene and being out
Right.
there, don't I mean, I'm 35. I'm playing in a bar somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and my mom is texting me going, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
Let me know when you
Shout
get
out to
home."
moms. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Totally. Totally.
Yeah, so like I understand, but you gotta let your kids live their lives. Let them go to those shows. If they're in the pit, let them get hit in the pit. Let them experience what it's all about. And if they want to join a band, let them do it and let them fail and
Yeah.
let them experience all of that early on too.
I agree.
Because I was a lot of real introverted when I was younger, so I didn't really venture out too much. Later on in life, I eventually started going to shows and doing things, and I think I'm a late bloomer at everything, including the music
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going ham
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
it. But if your kids are doing it young, let them do it and get it out their system right away,
Well,
because they'll find out right away if they really want to or if they don't want to.
totally. Then there's value in sports. You learn leadership, you
Right.
learn competition, you learn hard work, teamwork. You can learn all those things in a band too, right?
Yes.
And the other thing is this with sports, which again, that sports is my first love. I love playing sports. I love coaching sports. I love watching sports. Um, for an athlete, you only maybe got a 10, 15-year window. And let's be honest, 99.9% of the kids playing sports are never going to play in college or at the pro level. It's just not going to
Yeah.
happen. And people
Yeah.
don't want to admit that to themselves. However, any kid, it doesn't matter how tall, how skinny, how fat, how fast, how slow you are, anybody can be a musician. Now, obviously, some have more natural talent than others, right? Not everybody can carry a tune in a bucket or keep a beat. However,
Yeah.
if you learn music in your own unique way, you can take that with you anywhere you go and you can keep it with you for the rest of your life. Like we started when we were young. I'm going to be playing music to the day I die, and so are you. I know that for sure. Can I play football till the day I die? No, I cannot.
No.
I can barely play golf now, you know. So, but music, I'm going to be playing for my grandkids. You know what I mean? Or
Wow.
with my grandkids, I'm going to start a
Yeah.
little band. And so, anyway, the last thing I want to ask you, because I have a lot of respect for how passionate you are, you know, with some of your political beliefs and some of your,
Yeah.
you know, and you express that in your music.
Yeah.
And, you know, even if maybe we don't see eye to eye in every single issue, I respect that your passion comes from an authentic place. I know it does. And one of the things we talked about, you know, taking care of your health, taking care of your sleep and your water and your diet. But that also includes media consumption.
Yes.
It also includes protecting your energy. So, how obviously starting off in the hardcore and the punk scene,
Yeah.
getting
Sure.
that angst of hip hop and punk, and now with the reggae, but I also know how passionate you are. Reggae has been used as a force for civil rights, I believe, since its inception and
Yeah.
social justice. But how do you like fight the good fight with all the things happening in the world, but also protect your energy at the same time when it's your art and it's your occupation and it's all kind of rolled into one? Like how are you
Yeah.
managing that? Because I know it's not easy.
So, I've been down the rabbit hole, man. All the conspiracy theorists and all those. I mean, I followed Alex Jones for many years and like listened to every one of his episodes for so many years and just went every documentary you could find and everything about all of it. And I went to the point where I kind of got fed up at some point, because you start seeing patterns and then you start realizing that everything is kind of just kind of bogus. All of those kind of things that mess with your mind. They try to manipulate you on social media into believing a certain way or joining a cultish like mentality with
Yep.
certain groups and factions of people who are believing this way or that way, and some that are like really hardcore like this or really hardcore the other way.
Right.
um and in this time, it's really more imperative than ever that we have a healthy relationship with social media, and specifically the content we're seeing right now with the conflicts and the wars.
Yep.
You know, I mean, unfortunately, if you engage with one piece of content, then you get shown 1,000 other pieces of something similar.
Right.
And one picture of one mangled body shows you a bunch of pictures of a bunch of mangled bodies.
Right.
And it's disheartening. And it hurts my soul to the core to see that. But what helps me is I'm not consuming it 24/7. I
Right.
know there are some out there that that's just all they do. And I've also like I mean, started to consume a lot more content as far as how I'm doing my music and stuff. So looking up other creators and following other things other than that for now, it still
Yeah.
comes up, but I'm trying my
You
best
got
to
to balance it out. Yeah.
balance the content.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I get this from my mom a lot, actually. She's like, you know, why aren't you writing love songs, or why aren't you writing this or like that? Or and I go, because I say Babylon don't sleep. They're not stopping anytime soon. I'm not
Yeah.
going to either. I will continue to chant down and sing down all this oppressive situations,
Yeah.
and I'll continue to sing and enchant it. I also feel like that's my calling. I do feel
Hmm.
like I'm here to spread this message of unity and of resistance all together, you know?
Well, yeah. I grew up in church, and we used to have revivalists and preachers and evangelists and prophets and all this kind of stuff, right? And really, uh, musicians have always played that role.
Mm,
And now, instead of just thumping a Bible, you're thumping a guitar, but you have the same passion, and you're
100%.
evangelizing people to your cause. And the whole thing, the Babylon analogy, that's a whole, we could go on for another hour just about that, right? So
Totally, right?
I know what it means in the context of Rastafari, but I also know what it means in the context of biblical stuff,
Sure.
and just what I tell people, because I went through so much trauma at a young age. As messed up as it sounds, a lot of the stuff that's going on doesn't really surprise me or shock me anymore. And
Yeah,
that's sad that we're so desensitized and traumatized that we're not even like moved by it, because it's just like normal. But a lot of people have maybe been sheltered for a long time, and so they're just now
sure.
seeing or finding out some things, and they're just like,
100%. Yeah.
and so my thing is like, I'm not shocked by Babylon being Babylon. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we know what it
It's
is and what
how
they're
it's
going to
gonna be.
do, right?
Yep.
And that's going to mean something different to everyone, but we all kind of know what we mean when we say that.
Sure.
So am I shocked by evil being evil? No. And
No.
but more importantly, like, where I come from is I want to be strategic about fighting that evil, right? And that
Sure.
we each have a path to walk and a calling and a way of doing that. And why I love music is because you could have two people that otherwise would never talk to each other, or if they were in an argument or a debate would never agree, but if you get them around the same table of food and the same table of music, all of a sudden they're hearing the message, but they're disarmed by the music so that the message can penetrate, because it'll never
Yeah.
penetrate on Facebook. It'll never penetrate from the pulpit or from a book even, but
Mm-hmm.
you disarm them with the vibes, and then you drop in the medicine with the lyrics. And that's where change can happen. I've seen it. It's happened to me personally, and I've seen it with my own
Sure.
eyes. And so that's the mission that I'm on.
A lot of my political views come from a band that they don't exist anymore. Unfortunately, the singer is a disgraceful person that has been outed. But their music was very heavily politicized, political, and a lot of what their viewpoints and what their message was shaped me when I was younger in high school,
Mm,
trying to form my views on things, you know, and a lot of my anti-war stance and my anti-racism stance and anti-Nazi stance is from that too.
yeah.
But going back to like the consumption of the content, as far as me, like I know I'm doing as much as I can. I
Yeah.
write songs, I sing songs, I try to influence and sway people into thinking more positively and more unifying, and resisting. And I've attended a few demonstrations. I've gone and sung music at rallies and things. So I'm doing everything I can to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
That allows me to know that I'm doing what I can, and it doesn't make me feel bad that I can't do more.
Yeah.
Because I know there's some people who feel like, oh, well, I can't, they feel so bad and helpless that they can't do anything. It's like, well,
Right.
think about it though. You live in California. You're not living wherever they are. You can really only do so much from here.
Right.
So do what you can. And if all what you can is inform, tell your friends and family, speak, explain, share on socials, things like that, and don't stop the communication.
Yeah.
And if it's the best thing you can do, do that, but don't beat yourself up over the head if you can't do more, especially if you have family or your background is the people that are being affected, but you happen to live here in America.
Right.
Like, unfortunately, like you said, Babylon is being Babylon. Like, we see some of our friends and family members being affected by what the government is doing to the immigrants. And like,
Yep.
unfortunately, I mean, I'm a citizen. I don't think I
Yep.
have any problem, but I know people that aren't, and I'm
Right.
afraid for them.
Right.
But
Right.
I also know I can't do much more, so I'm not really tripping too much. I know it's crazy, and I'm going to continue speaking and singing and telling people about it to whatever. I'll talk to them blue in the face. And even
Well,
if
it's
you
kind of
want to
like,
tell me be quiet or why you
it's
talk
so,
that,
yeah, it's so weird. We've been having all these weird airplane accidents recently, like more than I can remember in my life. Have I seen like
never.
plane related accidents in the last couple of weeks, which is for whatever reason, maybe because people were fired from the FAA, who knows? But every time you get on a plane, what do they say? They say, in case of emergency, a mask's going to come down. Make sure you put yours on first before you help your neighbor. And for a bachelor, that's whatever, right? But for a parent, of course they're going to want to put it on their kid first. But
Yes.
no, the
Yes.
best thing for you to do is put your own mask on first, so that then you can help others. And that's what I feel a lot of the people that are in the uh, movement, so to speak, they never put their own mask on. And so they're out there for the cause and burning themselves out and giving the cause a bad name because they're not healthy, because they didn't take the time to get right. And then when you're healthy and you get right, your words have more impact.
Sure.
And
Yes.
you can strategize, and you're not just out there marching, you're actually like voting out change, you're running for office, you're starting businesses that are just and not just greed,
That's
all that stuff.
how this all changes. When I try to say things and people go, well, what how do you really change the system? How do you really do it? Well, how you really do it is you get elected. You get elected,
Yeah.
you change the laws, you make the rules, you
Raise
become
better kids.
raise better children, raise them to be good. But yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, that's what you do. I mean, unfortunately, if you can't beat them, join them. But when you join them, you hopefully take them out from the inside by changing the rules and changing the law.
Right.
And
The message is put your mask on first so that you can breathe, and then help your neighbor, not steal everybody's masks.
Yeah, don't
Or
burn
find a
yourself
way
out.
to trick them out of their mask so they give them to you. Like that's a whole other, like, anyway, but we can go on and on.
Sure.
I love what you've built. I love what you're doing. Where can people find you?
All right. So I am more active on my Instagram. So check me out, Dub_Souljah, as you see it written right here below me. And then you can check out my website, Dub Souljah Music. That's like HQ for our shows, merchandise, all the new drops and stuff like that. And then if you want to connect with me and you're a band or a musician and you want to work, ital Studios 42 on Instagram. That's where you can hit me up. I also have a page on my website where you can email me from there, like fill out a form, and we could work, man. And I'm be happy to work with any musicians. I love to have all of that out here. Yeah. And then I also have a separate page where I'm going to be doing interviews and videos similar to these vibes and all that. So follow that. It's rebel.i.media. And there I'm going to be posting a lot of photos. I've been taking photos and pictures and photos of bands and videos and stuff. So I'm going to do a lot of that and see where it all takes me.
Awesome, man. Well, you're super talented. We've been fortunate to, you've mixed some of our shows as an engineer. We've gotten to jam together, as musicians.
Yes.
And now we're going to do some media content together. So I'm super grateful and excited to see where it goes. Anything I can do to help, you let me know. And I'm excited to share this. We'll make sure to tag you so that people see it. And thank you so much for your time, man. We'll be in touch. Let's have a good summer together. All right, brother. Thank you.